Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3372. Today's date is 27 of March 2025. It's been almost like a night at 9:33 p.m. All right, we directly jump into the question. All right, let's go. Let's do this. All right. Okay. Question is, you have extra saving and want to reinvest in your career. Would you spend it on better equipment, new skill, or marketing your brand? Okay, that's a really good question. Okay, what exactly is this question? Yeah. Um. Okay, so basically, is this question is associated with a kind of like a something as a content creator point of perspective. Yeah. Basically, is this thing ki I ask ChatGPT that suggests me some sort of what should I do, like what like kind of like a something what was I supposed to do in that particular situation. Okay, yeah. So this is kind of like a some situation where you have extra saving. Okay, yeah. And what do you want to saving means money. You have kind of like a some sort of money. Okay, yeah. What should you supposed to do with that money? Okay, yeah. Like would you invest that money to the SIP, FD, or kind of like a something improving your skills or improving your equipment or marketing or brand? What exactly is this thing? Okay, yeah. So let me tell you regarding about my point of perspective. I am a content creator. Okay, yeah. And actually upload my videos on social media platform, Instagram as well as YouTube platform. Okay. uh okay, what I'm trying to tell you is this thing that key, when I will start earning money from my content creation process, and I have kind of like earn so much amount of money, so what would I supposed to do? Okay, yeah. So there are a couple of things that I would do. Okay, when I start earning money, first of all is that I have to go to Pune. Okay, yeah. And kind of like a rented apartment. Okay, yeah. This is the first thing that I wanted to do. Why are you want to go to Pune? Why are you not doing this thing from your hometown? Well, probably is this thing in my hometown. Like I'm actually living at Wardha is my hometown. Okay, Wardha, Maharashtra. And basically it's this city is really good. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that my hometown is really, it's kind of like a something good. But if I wanted to improve myself, if I wanted to progress in my life and things like that, I need to be kind of like a something such an environment where I need to know what is exactly happening in the world. Okay, what is exactly the competition and things like that. Going into the going into the bigger city means like that, trying to get new opportunity, new challenges and things like that. Okay, so it's really essential to me to go to Pune. Why are you not going to Bombay? Well, Bombay, I didn't like the Bombay. Like I went couple of times, but I don't know, yaar. Yeah, like I know that in Bombay you will get lot of opportunities, but I would not. Okay, yeah. Okay, so my first thing is that I have to go to Pune. Okay, rented apartment, and yeah. Another thing is that when I went to like when I start earning money from the content creation things like that. Okay, I have to start my business. Okay, what is exactly my business? Okay, my business means like that like things that you are actually hearing is called artifact episode. And like I'm kind of like telling this thing in a very short format. Okay, yeah. So like things that you are actually hearing is called artifact episode. And this is kind of like some artifact episode. I started this thing in 2015. Okay. At the initially I started recording this thing is for kind of like some self improvement and journaling things like that. It's been almost like a decade of kind of like a something I have experienced regarding about this artifact and things like that. Because of I am kind of like a recording this thing, kind of like a some self talk, it kind of like improved me a lot regarding about my thought process, thinking ability, my communication skills. Okay, yeah. And yeah, these are kind of like a and perspective of looking at the world. There are so many things are actually improved, okay, because of this art, because of this artifact. Okay, yeah. I kind of like realized that a year ago that key, what if I kind of like make a some certain app so that people could kind of like simply record their artifact. Okay, yeah. uh, so that they will get some sort of values from the recording their artifact and things like that. And as also they could share those artifacts to the world, but without knowing them, without knowing like basically privacy is a kind of like a something should supposed to be taking care of that. Okay, yeah. Means like that कि you are actually hearing me, you don't know me. Okay, yeah, like somewhat I kind of like talk about me stuff and stuff like that. But in this particular app, like your privacy should supposed to be maintained properly, and you just have to express your thing. Okay, yeah. Why this thing is kind of like why people would should supposed to do that. Okay, yeah. Like why, that's a really good question. Because of that ki, I realized that ki, there are so many people are wanted to say so many things, but they don't really have any kind of like some opportunity or any kind of like some person to talk to. What do you mean by that? Oh yeah, like basically this thing, you went to the anywhere and any person could wanted to talk, wanted to kind of like a something express, but they don't really have any kind of like a something opportunity or any kind of like a something person. So basically, this is artifact is kind of like a filling the gap between that, filling the people wanted to say something but they don't really have anything. So they just kind of like open my app and they are started talking about stuff and stuff regarding about whatever the questions and things like that. Okay, yeah. Because of this thing, they kind of like communicate themselves, they improve themselves, they understand themselves, and yeah. And because of their recording and someone kind of like a listening their artifact, they would inspired, they would kind of like a connect with that person without knowing them who are this, but they connect that person, they kind of like a somebody get little bit of inspiration about what they are kind of like a facing the failure and things like that. And it is kind of it is like something really good, like it's a kind of like a something that we are really like as a person we are really wanted to know what is actually happened, what does people actually thinking about that and that. Okay, yeah, this is artifact is a kind of like a something recording their thought process, the people thought process, and people would listen their thought process. It's a kind of like a something um, connection between you and your thought process and the people and things like that. Okay, yeah, I don't know. It's a kind of like a something you might not understand at this moment, but when I will make this app, I am not really sure. Like, still, I this is my kind of like a something. I just did little bit of experiment on friend. Okay, like my friend named Prashik. I was kind of like doing the experiment on him regarding about how does people interact with the kind of like a stuff. Will they want to talk about stuff and stuff like that? Okay, at this time I don't really have any kind of like a leads and stuff like that, but I think this will gonna happen. Okay, yeah, I will definitely gonna make this particular app. Okay, yeah. I will not gonna explain regarding about all those things. Okay, yeah. But this is kind of like a stuff, a business that I wanted to establish. Okay, yeah. So when I went to Pune, so my friend, like me and my friend Prashik, are kind of like decided to go to the Pune, so that I would start business and Prashik will help me on my business. Okay, yeah. So we will set up some sort of startup. Okay, yeah. We build this app, we found a particular people who are kind of like a build the Android app stuff like that. I and actually me and my Prashik will kind of like work on that particular app, build some sort of team and things like that. As also whatever the money that I will gonna earn from this content creation, I will invest entire money, I will invest entire money into this team and building the business and stuff like that. Probably the money that I would earn is probably very less for kind of like a startup business and stuff like that. Yeah, that is for sure. But I will start some sort of loan and things like that probably. Okay, yeah. But at the beginning, I will kind of like a start slow, start kind of like a little less. Okay, yeah. Like I had kind of like a team very low people, like maybe one or two people. Like I could kind of like somebody afford to hire those people. Nah, like they would not work free for me. Okay, yeah. So I would have to be kind of like a be careful regarding about who am I supposed to be hire, and that person kind of like a simply work for me and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. But I'm pretty sure that ki money will kind of like a something will not gonna challenge. Like it will be, yeah, like I'm not gonna say money is not gonna challenge. Yeah, money is gonna challenge. But basically I would have this kind of like a something content creation, and I would started earning from this content creation. Then I would, yeah, starting this business and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. Now regarding about the saving, okay, if I have kind of like some certain saving, what should I supposed to do? Where should I supposed to invest that money on? Kind of like a marketing myself or stuff like that, or improving your skills and stuff like that. Okay, yeah. So let me tell you one thing. My genre is I am a content creator, and my genre is a Photoshop, graphic designing. Okay, yeah, these are kind of like a stuff. I took photo of myself and kind of like a simply create such a graphics which kind of like a simply provide some sort of message, a social message, or kind of like a something. Okay, and these are kind of like a stuff I do. Okay, yeah. For this particular creation, for this content creation, it doesn't really require me that much. Okay, yeah. Like it required me almost like a 4 hour of my time. Then I need a laptop and I need a mobile phone to take photo. That's it. The rest of the thing is actually by myself. Okay. Regarding about equipment, I might gonna need a kind of like a something light, a simple kind of like a something really that light is had enough for focusing on me maybe. Okay. Or maybe am I invest on green screen. Okay, that's it. Green screen which is not that much kind of like something expensive. So regarding about equipment, it didn't really cost me that much. Okay, yeah. Yeah, my laptop is a kind of like a something the problem might be. So I would gonna kind of like a buy such a laptop which has kind of like a something very good specification, things like that. Okay, yeah. I would gonna definitely buy. Okay, yeah. Now regarding about the improving skills, okay. So usually I am kind of like a simply making design, making two design per day. Okay, yeah, and I'm doing this thing every single day. Okay, so because of I am doing this thing every single day, so I am kind of like improving. Like let me tell you one thing. Like I started learning this Photoshop almost like a 6 months ago. Okay, 6 7 months ago. Yes, 6 7 months ago, and probably way before that I don't know how do I supposed to use the Photoshop. Like I do know, but it's like that na ki I just only one thing for using Photoshop is that ki removing the background, and that's it. But right now I'm kind of like a simply pro at it. Okay, yeah, like I'm kind of like editing my photos and remove the background and everything. Okay, so since I'm kind of like a something doing this thing every single day, so it kind of like automatically improve my skills. Like with respect to time, I improve my skills every single day. If I decided to kind of like do those things every single day, obviously I'm gonna improve that thing. So all right, yeah. Now regarding about marketing, should I supposed to market myself? Should I supposed to spend my saving to market myself? Well, probably is this thing I will, but I don't know. Yeah, why? Let me tell you one thing. Okay, the kind of like a something the content that I'm creating, the genre that I'm creating is kind of like a something such a content where like no one is actually creating content like me. Okay, yeah. Like yeah, there are so many graphic designer who are kind of like a designing the graphics, but they are designing the graphics regarding about the visual point of perspective. They look really good. Okay, yeah, but they are not kind of like a telling some sort of message, social message, nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. Like basically I am kind of like using my graphic designing to telling some sort of social message and things like that, which is kind of like a something niche where is there is no one is actually making such kind of like a something content. Okay, yeah. So I think that I am kind of like a something early mover into this thing, so I might have kind of like a something strong advantage regarding about that. Okay, so unfortunately my content is kind of like a simply marketing by itself. Okay, because there is no one is actually making this content, so probably I have very less competition, and as also is this thing that key my content is a kind of like a something very different, so it market itself. Okay, yeah. So but still I think that key marketing is a kind of like a some term that I don't really knew it properly. Okay, because I haven't really experienced this thing. So I might gonna invest some sort of money into the marketing, because I don't know how is kind of like a the marketing it should be. So yeah. Okay, so this is kind of like a something saving that I invested. Okay, most of the money that I earn from the content creation, I would spend that money into my business. Okay, yeah. Because the final product, the final thing is my business, not the content creation. Yeah, basically is this thing I would do this content creation for almost like a maybe 5 year or 10 year. Okay, yeah. But then after that I might gonna lose it little bit. Okay, yeah, because I think that now this artifact is kind the building this app, the artifact is a kind of like a something is this thing that I wanted to pursue this thing. Okay, yeah. Yes, I wanted to be a content creator, but the in the end, I wanted to be kind of like a something business person, so that I would start doing business and things like that. Okay, yeah. It not only helped me to be a better person, but as also kind of like a simply I am helping my product to build a better community and things like that, because artifact is kind of like simply improving the people mindset and stuff like that. Still it's a very long journey, but yeah. So this is I would kind of like a somebody spend my money, spend my saving into the this thing. Why are you not spending your money into the SIP, FT, or mutual market or things like that? Well, yeah, that is really good thing. Yeah, I would definitely gonna invest my money into that thing, but probably I think that SIP would be better. Okay, yeah, SIP, FD. Okay, yeah. I'm not really sure about the trading and mutual fund and things like that, because I'm not really sure. Okay, like regarding about the regarding about this kind of like some the share market, I have very less knowledge regarding about that. And probably is this thing that key I would gonna kind of like spend some sort of money into the uh, share market, but not by me. It's kind of like something like the people who are really experts. So I would hire some sort of people who are really expert in the share market, and those people are kind of like somebody investing my money to kind of like somebody build stuff and stuff like that. But these are kind of like somebody very very long, like basically if I have like a ton of money, then I would probably hire those people and do that thing. But for by myself, I might gonna invest on SIP FD. That's it, like a low risk, but eventually I will get higher returns respect to the times. That's it. So yeah, so this is how I would kind of like a simply spend my extra saving in my career probably. All right, yeah. Next question. Right before uploading high effort video, your hard drive crashes and you lose all your work. What would you do? Wow, that is really good question. That is really good question. Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing that key if I kind of like a something kind of like a making some sort of videos, and I have kind of like a stored that data into the hard drive, and hard drive or hard drive crash or something really crash, and because of that I lose my all my data, then what would I supposed to do? Okay, yeah. uh that's a really good question. First of all, is that na ki, as I mentioned earlier regarding about my content creation. Okay, yeah. Uh, I am like a like I am I think that now I am kind of like explaining this thing multiple time. Okay, yeah, but still, um, is this thing that ki my content is kind of like a simply Photoshop. Okay, yeah. Usually my data is almost like a maybe at least 1 GB. Okay, yeah. 1 GB or 2 GB, that's it. Okay, yeah. Max to max 3 GB, like an entire raw data, which is kind of like a something very less. Okay, yeah. 5 GB is kind of like a something too much. Mostly it takes almost like a maybe 1 or 2 GB. Okay, yeah. regarding about photos, regarding about the screen recording, regarding about the other screen like a desktop screen recording. It takes at least like a maybe 1 or 2 GB. Okay, yeah. And usually I record all those things on the mobile phone and then desktop, okay, on my laptop. Okay, yeah. So usually is this thing I didn't really kind of like save that data into the hard drive. No, all those data is actually saved on my laptop. Okay, yeah. So the kind of like something the chances to have to kind of like delete all those data is a kind of like a simply only one chances that key I might lost my laptop, or kind of like a something I kind of like laptop got damaged. Then in that particular situation I might gonna lose some sort of data, but that is not gonna happen because usually if I kind of like a damage my laptop or something like that, I might whatever. Okay, if I lost my data, it's not really that much problem to me. Why? Because as I mentioned earlier, if I lose my data, still I would recreate my data. Okay, yeah, by taking another laptop and started doing this thing again. Okay, yeah, and it doesn't take me that much amount of time because as I mentioned earlier, usually if I wanted to create a design, okay, it took me almost like a 4 hour to do that. Okay, yeah. So if I have another laptop, then I would started doing this thing again, and I would upload my data within a 4 hour. That's it. So basically, if I crash my data and stuff like that, first of all, I would be kind of like a somebody very calm. Okay, yeah. Because let me tell you one thing now, when you are kind of like a something in video business, probably you might gonna lose somewhat somewhere data. Okay, definitely is this thing because there is lot of stuff is actually happened. Like when I was kind of like somebody making my travel videos and stuff like that, my data is a kind of like a something so much. Like let me tell you one thing, the one video data might takes almost like a maybe 50 GB to, yeah, like a like a 10 GB to 50 GB. Okay, 10 GB to 15 GB, that is too much amount of data. And basically when I record that data on mobile phone to the camera to my computer to my laptop, and usually kind of like a copy that data, then encode that data, there are so many stuff, that's so many stuff. And in that particular process I might gonna kind of like lose some sort of data regarding about crashing and things like that. But still, as I mentioned, okay, yeah, my content is not that. Okay, usually one of the most important content, like one of the most important footages in myself in my content is the screen recording, and that's it. Okay, yeah. So probably it's not really that much. Okay, yeah. So if I lose my data or if I corrupted some sort of hard drive, I would start over again. Okay, yeah. I would kind of like get some sort of another laptop, or get kind of like somebody get my friend's laptop and install the Photoshop and started doing this thing again. Okay, yeah. So it's not really that bother to me that much. Okay, yeah. But still, there are a couple of pointers are recommended by the chat GPT. First pointer, stay calm and access the damage. Okay, yeah, that is really important thing. You have to be stay calm. I am really calm person, by the way, so yes. Attempt the recovery. Okay, yeah. Well, recovery is gonna happen. Like basically, the recovery can supposed to be happen. Well, it depends on what kind of like a something happened with the hard drive. If the hard drive is crash means like that ki like a hard drive is already kind of like a something broken or damaged or things like that, then it might be kind of like a something recovery chances would be really higher because it's actually damaged by the external forces. Okay, yeah. And in that particular external forces, the external kind of like a things might be kind of like a something damaged, but internal disk is kind of like a something intact. Okay, yeah. If you went to the kind of like a something data advisor or recovery officer, then he might gonna recover your data without any kind of like a something problem, because external damage is not really that much problem for the recovering things like that. But if there is an internal damage, what's the internal damage? Internal damage means like that ki when you are copying some sort of data and suddenly you stop it, or kind of like a something you kind of like a put some sort of pressure into it, and in that particular stuff now, what is actually, you just have to understand what is actually the internal damage. Okay, because it actually happened with me. Okay, yeah. So basically this thing, the hard disk is a kind of like a something a disk inside the hard disk. Okay, yeah. and there is a needle. Okay, it's a very tiny needle who is kind of like a writing and reading the data at the same time. Okay, yeah. So when there is a data is actually reading means like that ki you are actually playing some sort of file or kind of like copying some sort of file. So in that particular time, the needle is kind of like a writing and reading the data at the same time. Okay, yeah. As also I'm talking about the external hard drive, they are kind of like a very delicate. Okay, yeah. They are not meant to be kind of like a something really handle the kind of like a something a pressure or handle kind of like a something sudden movement and things like that, because the needle inside that hard drive is a very delicate. Okay, yeah. So if we put kind of like a something move, or if we put kind of like a something damage, or if we kind of like a some sort of stuff actually happened to the hard drive when it kind of like a read and write, then that needle is kind of like a damaging the disk. Okay, yeah. And it create kind of like a something, it damage the disk, because then that needle has a kind of like a something pointer, a laser, and that laser kind of like a something corrupt some sort of data. Okay, yeah. So when this thing is actually happened now, then recovering the data is a kind of like a something very difficult, so much difficult. It's not really that difficult, but still it's kind of like a something somewhat little bit difficult. So when such thing happened, then yeah. But regarding about recovery, I might gonna say almost like a 50, 40, 60 chances. Okay, 60% chances that data would be recovered, 40% might not. Okay, so you have to be understand regarding about that point of perspective. Okay, yeah. Then pivot and adapt. Okay, yeah. Like basically it is really essential to understand that कि somewhat some data is kind of like a simply loss, so you just have to reshoot that data or re-edit that data or stuff like that. When you are kind of like a making the video content, then probably this is kind of like a something very difficult for it. But yeah, you just have to used to with that thing. Okay, yeah. If your data is lost and things like that, or hard disk is corrupted, you just have to do it by again everything. Okay, yeah. Learn and prevent the future losses. Yeah, that is really good, essential. When such thing is actually happen, data is lost, so make sure that use ssd. Okay, yeah. Or ssd hard drive. Okay, solid state drive, invest on solid state drive. ssd is a kind of like a something very good thing, because in the hard drive there are moving particle, the needle and kind of like a disk are kind of like a something moving particle. Okay, yeah. And when there is a kind of like a something shock is actually happened, it kind of like a damage the disk and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, because all those moving particle. Invest on ssd. Okay, solid state drive. Solid state drive are kind of like a something meant to be a kind of like a something a card. Okay, the card reader, or kind of like a something like basically there is very like there is nothing really moving particle, no, nothing really at all. Okay, so basically data is like directly write into the packets and directly read into the packets. Okay, there is no needle at all, nothing really at all. So basically solid state drive is a kind of like a something really good investment for the kind of like a moving the data and things like that. And basically you could kind of like a recover the data from the solid state drive too, because solid state drive are kind of like a won't be able to corrupt. Okay, yeah. A hard drive kind of like a meant to be corrupt, but a solid state drive are kind of like a very less chances they would corrupt. Okay, yeah. Might be almost like 99.99% they would not corrupt, only 0.001 chances they might gonna corrupt. Okay, yeah. But solid state drive will not gonna corrupt that much easily. So it is really essential to and another thing is that solid state drive are kind of like a very expensive. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's very expensive, but it's a really good thing, because when you have some sort of money and things like that, then make sure that invest that money to kind of like some sort of solid state drive, so that it would kind of like a something prevent from that loss of data. So this is a really good thing. Okay. And turn the setbacks into the content. Yeah, that is really good thing. Yeah, that's a really good. Okay, yeah. Because let me tell you one thing now, it is really essential to be that those stuff will gonna happen if you are being a content creator. This kind of like a stuff is meant to be happen. So uh, if such thing is actually happen, then make a content into it. Okay, yeah, like basically you just kind of like record the video and stuff and talk about that. Ki, I wanted to make this video, but somewhat kind of like I data loss and this that. Just tell your story regarding about that. Ki, I went to the hard drive, I went to recovery officer, and they kind of like did this. Tell your entire story regarding about how do you shoot, how do you edit, how do you data loss, and how does stuff like that. This is kind of like a simply content in itself. Okay, yeah, like yeah, it's this kind of like a content in itself that ki why this tragic thing is actually happened. Make a content regarding about that. Sit in front of the camera and kind of like a talk about that stuff like happen. People love to listen to those thoughts because the setbacks and kind of like a some problem are kind of like always people are really wanted to know. And if you are being a content creator, this is also kind of like a some content that you get that you lost your data, and that's a really good thing nah, just do it. Okay, in the end you are being a human, and making a mistake is a kind of like a simply a part of being human thing. So yeah, that is a good thing. Okay, yeah, so just do it. Okay, yeah, if such thing is actually happened, make a content into it. That's really good thing. Okay, yeah, so these are kind of like a something really unexpected situation. All right, yeah, should I talk more? No, it's been almost like a 30 minute. I should supposed to be stop here. All right, so this is it, this then, and thank you.